All right, pay attention, please. Today we're going to be using trig ratios to find side lengths. Now, this is not difficult unless you decide to zone out for a little bit in the next 10 minutes. Because then it gets real difficult. And every single year when I teach this section, after the quiz and next week, I get a lot of comments like, I never could figure out which ratio to use. Okay? So get focused here for a couple of minutes and pay attention. The problem that you do, the information that is given in the problem tells you what ratio to use. And once you set up your proportion, it's a very simple problem. It's just about setting up the proportion correctly. So, if you look at example 4a on the top of 543, you're given a triangle, you're given a right triangle. You're given a right triangle that looks like ABC. The right angle is at B and angle A is 41 degrees. You are given side CB and it's 6.1. And you're asked to find AB. Find AB. Side AB. Now, the acronym, SOHCAHTOA. When you're given these problems, look at the information that's given. All right, you're given the 41 degrees and you're given the side opposite. Okay? You know an angle and you know its side opposite. And you're asked to find, in this problem, its side that's adjacent. You're given opposite and you're finding adjacent. So what ratio deals with opposite and adjacent? Tan. So the problem just told you what ratio to use. You were given opposite and you're trying to find adjacent. Opposite and adjacent deals with tangent. So you write a proportion. You take tan 41 and you make it equal to the side opposite the angle, which is 6.1, over the side you're trying to find, which is side AB. That's your setup. That's the hardest part. Now you've got a proportion. This tan 41 can be written over 1. And in a proportion, cross products are equal to each other. So if you crisscross multiply, and again, you're not going to multiply anything yet. You're going to take tan 41, and if you multiply it by AB, you would have tan 41 times AB. And you make it equal to 6.1 times 1, which is 6.1. Now, you're trying to isolate the AB. So if you divide both sides of this proportion by tan 41, the tan 41s on the left-hand side cancel out. The AB falls down. So AB is equal to, now it's just a calculator operation. It's 6.1 divided by 41 tan, and you have to hit the equal button, or the equals button. And your calculator should say 7.02. Listen to me again. It's 6.1 divided by 41 tan equals If you're using the yellow calculator, it's 6.1 divided by tan 41 equals.
It was on a different setting.
Then you got to put it on the degree setting. Did everybody get 7.02? All right, now, same triangle. And let's say that you are asked to find AC, the hypotenuse. Now, if you're looking to find this hypotenuse, and you're given this angle, in this case now, since you already know two sides, you could use a ratio that dealt with opposite and hypotenuse or adjacent and hypotenuse. Agreed? Because you know them both. You usually won't be given two sides. You're only going to be given one side and asked to find another side. Because if you know two sides of a right triangle, you can use the Pythagorean theorem to find the third side. You don't have to use sine, cosine, tangent. So let's use the 6.1 again. So in relation to the 41-degree angle, you've got opposite and you're trying to find hypotenuse. Which ratio? Opposite and hypotenuse. So now your proportion is going to be sine 41 equals opposite, which is 6.1, over hypotenuse, which is AC. You would crisscross multiply, so you would have sine 41 times AC equals 6.1. And if you divide both sides by sine 41, you're just left with AC on the left, and it's a calculator operation of 6.1 divided by 41 sine. And you should get 9.3.
Yeah.
And when you're doing these problems, keep in mind that the hypotenuse always has to be the longest side, doesn't it? In a right triangle, the hypotenuse is always the longest side. The legs have to be shorter than the hypotenuse. So if you get a number for the hypotenuse that's shorter than one of the legs, then just look at your work. You probably chose the wrong ratio, or you pushed the wrong button in your calculator. All right, so let's try another one. I'm doing example 4B now. You got triangle NMP. M is your 90-degree angle, and angle N is 20 degrees. You're given the hypotenuse as 8.7. You're asked to find MP. Find M to P. So look, in relation to the given angle, the 20-degree angle, you're given the hypotenuse, and you're looking for side M to P. Is that opposite or is that adjacent? That's opposite. So you want the ratio that deals with opposite and hypotenuse. And that's sine.
How come you never do the degree
Wait.
sign?
Wait a minute. The first thing that you're doing right here, you were given a problem with an angle and the side. The question was to find side MP. So you identify side MP, and then you ask yourself, in relation to the given angle, what am I working with? I'm working with opposite, and I'm working with hypotenuse.
Oh, okay.
Opposite and hypotenuse deals with sine. So the problem tells you which ratio to use. Okay? So it's going to be sine 20 equals opposite, which is what you're trying to find, MP, over hypotenuse, which is 8.7. Now, when you crisscross multiply here, you got 1 times MP, which is MP. And that's going to be equal to your sine 20 times 8.7. So this you'll get more familiar with. It's a one-step problem. So M to P is equal to 20 sine times 8.7. .98. So there's your M to P. Now, while all this information is up here, let's just find this side. And let's use the hypotenuse again. So now, in relation to the 20-degree angle, if you're given the hypotenuse and you're trying to find the adjacent side, what ratio are we going to use? Cosine. Cosine deals with adjacent and hypotenuse. So cosine 20 equals the adjacent side, which is NM, divided by the hypotenuse, which is 8.7. When you crisscross multiply here, your NM is going to be equal to cosine 20 times 8.7. So N to M is equal to 8.18. Does anybody have any questions? Yes.
So you always base it off of the angle, the 20 degree.
Yes. You base it off what's given when you're finding a side length. Because tomorrow we'll be finding angle measures. But the process is kind of the same. Whatever information that they give you in the problem tells you which ratio you have to use. So let's do one more. Triangle XYZ, where X is the 90, Z is 38 degrees, and X to Z is 12.6. You're asked to find Y to Z. So alright, so you're given an angle. You're given the side that is adjacent to the angle, and you're looking for the hypotenuse. So adjacent and hypotenuse. Cosine. So your proportion is cosine 38 equals its adjacent side, which is 12.6, divided by the hypotenuse, which is what you're trying to find here, Y to Z. Crisscross multiply again. So cosine 38 times YZ is equal to 12.6 times 1, which is 12.6. Divide both sides by cosine 38. Those cancel, and y to z is equal to. Should the answer be greater than 12.6 or less than 12.6? It's got to be greater. You're looking for a hypotenuse. It's got to be longer than each of the legs. So 12.6 divided by 38 cosine. 15.99. So there's your y to z. Any questions? All right, well done. Your assignment for today starts on page 543. And you're going to do the check it out. For A through 4D. And then on 545, 18 through 20. And 546, 37 to 42. And when you get all that finished and you check the odds and you're comfortable with your work, then you're going to check Headline for homework.